How's it going, guys? Our first round robin just ended. We took the time to break down a bunch of stats for you. You can find them all in the Draft Crew Series Master Sheet. If you type in the Discord !DCS info, you'll be able to find it. And there's a bunch of stats in here. I'm not going to go over everything individually. We took track of total MVPs, so you can see if you got an MVP or not. I was announcing them week by week, but you'll be able to see them in here. Total stocks taken, battles participated in, and this one we were mostly tracking just so that way we could get you accurate stats, because if you only took 2 stocks but you only showed up for 1 battle, that's not as bad as it looks, where over the season maybe your average would have been better if you actually showed up more. Then we have stocks taken per appearance, and I'm going to do most of my breakdown today is going to be about this stat, stocks taken per appearance, because I think it's the best stat to represent performance that we recorded. Just a cool little thing here, the most MVP rewards so far have gone to James Inspection with 3 MVPs. I know they're done a little differently for some drafts, or for some crew battles, where they give them out to both the winner and the loser side. But we are only awarding winner side MVPs for DCS, which means that both James Inspection have led their team to victory 3 times. And then Quark has had the most stocks taken across round robin 1 with a total of 33. Little fun fact here, if you included all of week 4, because week 4 was split up between round robin 1 and round robin 2, if you included all of week 4, then the Bow's name shows up here after the calculations, but because day 2 isn't included, the Bow's is not here. Just wanted to point out another thing the Bow's got robbed from. And then down here we also took track of basically what this stat tells you. It's stocks lost per team and then average stocks lost per game. So this will tell you the most deadly teams in the league. And a very interesting thing, Team Quark, who has the best record with Team Tom, these are the 2 most winningest teams in the league, right? They're tied for first right now. What's interesting is Team Tom has a average stocks lost of 11. Team Copel and Team Vloneflex have a lower average stock loss than Team Tom, despite, I believe both of them were negative by the end of the season. I think both of them were below 4-4 for the end of the season. Which is pretty crazy. That means that their wins are just absolute annihilations, where their losses are pretty close. It's pretty interesting there. Pretty interesting indeed. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to go over on this specific sheet. Like I said, you can come in here and look at it yourself and discern whatever information from it you want to see. We excluded the substitutes from all of the numbers that we're going to be going over today. We just kept track of a couple numbers for them just so that way they could see them if they wanted to. But anyway, we're going to get into the real meat and potatoes of what I wanted to show you today. I made a separate sheet. This one is not attached to the Draft Crew's master sheet, so you are only getting a live viewing of it here. I'm the only one that has access to this. So what I went ahead and did, and I took all those numbers from the master sheet that we were just looking at, and I broke them up per grouping. We are going to go over these and see how well your picks performed. Now, what I want to say before I start breaking this stuff down, stocks taken per appearance doesn't necessarily mean you're the best player in the league, or you're the most important player, or you're the worst player, because in certain situations, you're going to take more or less stocks, but it can still be a good play. So, if you're, a lower skilled player and say you get sent in versus Quark and you take 1 stock off of Quark, that's still a good day for you. But in the stats, it's only going to show up as 1 stock, And the other side of it is, if your team is winning and you go in last and you only need to take 1 stock, you're only going to get 1 stock that day. But it's only because your team won. Maybe you would have taken 6 stocks, maybe you would have taken 8 stocks if you had gone in earlier. Just keep that in mind when we're going over these stats, that they don't necessarily correlate exactly to ability. but I still think it would be fun to go over them, so we're still here talking about them. And I don't want to focus on the people underperforming or performing not so well. I don't want to be negative on anybody, except for maybe Slam. Making fun of Slam's fun. But like, I'm not here to trash anyone. I just want to go over some interesting statistics that I've seen, and you know, I thought it would be fun. So we've got the team captains here. Cork performing the best. Vlone Flex. The top 3 performers are 2 Game & Watches and a King K rule. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I wonder if Wi-Fi has anything to do with that. I don't know. But unsurprising to see Cork at the top. Cork is also the highest stocks taken per appearance across the whole league, which you would have been able to discern from the other page where I told you he's taking the most stocks in the league with 33. But he's averaging 4.7 per appearance, which is pretty crazy. Between Cork, Vlone, Copel, and Tomlet, they're performing above the average for team captains, and the average for team captains is 3.37, and then the rest of the guys are doing a little lower. I was surprised to see both Pickmans and Perry under the average, because, like, in my mind, I guess Pickmans hasn't been on my stream as many times, but the 2 times that I saw Pickmans, he was going off for his crew, so I was surprised to see him down here. And then Perrymaster, I always think of Perrymaster as like a raid boss, but I think lots of times this is the situation I was talking about. Like, lots of times he's coming in as the anchor, so he doesn't have as much opportunity to rack up stock taking as some of these other team captains like Copel and Cork, or not Copel, well yeah, Copel, Cork, and Tom, who have gone in very early for their teams. I think Copel always goes in first or second, and Tom has gone in first a few times, and Cork has gone in like second a couple times, so they've had more opportunities to carry their teams than Perrymaster has, which is why I think he's a little on the lower side. And then moving on to the round 1 picks, unsurprisingly, James at the very top. He's also the second highest performer, just barely behind Cork in stocks taken per appearance. Very close numbers there. And also you'll notice the average taken goes down. So there's on average, a team captain is more likely to take more stocks than a round 1. So it kind of works out that there is like a power level gap here. And you'll actually see that a repeating pattern across all rounds. It does actually decrease for each draft round. So our draft ended up being pretty accurate. The average of each group is performing where you would expect them to be, which is pretty cool. That means the team captains did their job and drafted the right players, but we're going to talk about one player in particular that I believe was drafted incorrectly, and the stats will bear that out later. But we will get to him in time. In this group, one notable thing is that Column is on here, but Column has only played 2 games. So, like, his stats are kind of inflated from that, but he took 9 stocks across 2 games, which is a great performance. He didn't go through the whole round robin where he might have had an opportunity to lose more or have some weaker performances. So his stats are, in my opinion, artificially inflated because of that. Hawk is another scenario where he was going in last a lot for his team, so he didn't have an opportunity to shine too much. We saw him come in first or second this weekend, and he got an MVP immediately. He got an MVP in both of his games today, and that was mostly because his team wasn't sending him out for last anymore. This number definitely underrepresents his ability. Moving on to draft round 2 players, Kovu heavily outperforming. Kovu and the Bows, these guys, we've been calling the Bows Mr. 6 stock on the broadcast because this guy goes nuts. But his average stocks taken per appearance is actually only 4, which is still insane. That's still so high. And same with Kovu. Both of these guys are performing good enough to have been round 1. Like, they're performing heavily above the median round 1 player. Which is pretty crazy. They're going nuts. Just one thing to note about Sketch. Sketch has only played in 1 game, and he only took 1 stock, so his stocks taken per appearance is exactly 1 because he only appeared 1 time. Who knows what his stats would have actually looked like if he actually showed up, but I think we're going to be looking for a replacement for him. Sounds like Butters is going to step in on Team Flownflex and take Sketch's spot. I think that'll do them a lot better, because they've had to scramble for a substitute for Sketch. Almost, I mean, basically every single game except for one, which has been unfortunate for them. Moving on to round 3. We've got Frauded and Prince at the top, tied for the top spot, both doing really well for their teams. Saturn, interestingly, Saturn, I think he's had a couple of like blow-up games. I think he took 7 stocks in one, and I think he did really good in another one. And then some of his other games are just pretty average, which is fine. I mean, that's good for a round 3 pick. Saturn does pretty well for himself. Zinkus has been another really good performer on Team Copel, taking an average of 3 every round, or every appearance, which is super good for a round 3 in my opinion. And then Bowtie, Bowtie is another case where he's only played 1 game and he took 2 stocks. So who knows what his stats would have actually looked like if he was actually here playing. And we are also looking for a replacement for Bowtie. The dude just, I don't know, can't wake up or something. But I'm sick of dealing with it. Every weekend, Cork having to look for a substitute because Bowtie's just not responding to messages, just didn't say anything to anybody. Pretty annoying. But we're not here to talk about that. Sorry. I'm getting off track. And now we reach round 4, where I would like to talk to you about this man's Spection. This man was done dirty by the draft. I want to show you. We're going to go over it in the next spreadsheet. Just notice how high his stock average is compared to some of these players even. And all of the rest of these players. Just take a notice of that. But yeah, so Spection, easily the top performing round 4 player. And then OT doing very well for herself. She even has 1 MVP at least. Maybe 2, but she got the first MVP of DCS, actually. And then, you know, the rest of round 4, all doing pretty well. For what you would expect for round 4 players. No offense to them. They're doing their job. Absolute robbery by Slam. Yeah, this man stole this. So anyway, we're going to jump over to the other sheet where I've got all of the same information but broken down in a different way here. So what I did is I ranked each player by stocks taken per appearance. And if you see this beautiful colored snake going down here, we have Spection coming in at 8th ranking for stocks taken per appearance. And OT was doing well in her position, but she's a whole 10 positions lower than Spection for a 4th round pick. And then the next closest one is ranked 25 compared to 8. Spection is outperforming the top round 3 pick by 4 positions. He's outperforming the 4th best team captain, the 3rd best round 1, and the 3rd best round 2. So if we go back here and we look at the average, Spection is performing above average of every single position. Even above team captains, he's above the average score there. This guy went round 4. He was like the 4th from last pick. And he's arguably should have been one of the team captains for the draft. Insane. Absolute insanity. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Cork and Jeems right at the top. Column, I already explained, might be a little inflated, but honestly, he would probably be in the top 10, even if he was here every week. I'm sure he would probably still perform around this area. Kovu, the highest performing round 2, beating out a bunch of other players from every other round. Same with the Bows up here in the top 10. I thought this was just a pretty interesting little spread of information that we found. If we had more manpower, I guess, to take track of information, we could keep track of, like, okay, how often do round 4, like, when you get a win, when you take a stock, is it off of a round 1 player, round 2, round 3? We don't have the technology or manpower to collect all that stuff. But yeah, if you scroll way down here to the bottom, Slam just repping that spot. It's funny, all of the round 4s are grouped up in like one little area. they're all performing about the same, which is, it's pretty interesting that it ended up working out where most players have kind of performed within the areas you would expect them. Like, the draft ended up working out really well, I think, just based on this information. So, yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about. Break out the rounds. You could see, you know, what players are doing how good based on where they got drafted and how valuable they are to their team. I hope you guys found this interesting. If you liked the video, share it with your friends. Anyway, have a good